Okay, in this video we are going to be looking at modeling our first two construction blocks in a series of 6 that we'll be doing for this project. In the previous video I published, we walked through how to create a folder, how to save that design file, and how to set us up for a top-down model, meaning we're going to have multiple components in one design file, which will really make our lives a lot easier when we go to create 3-view drawings and export this to a single PDF. It's really important that we have all of our components here in one model. This is where top-down modeling will really benefit us. And so you can see I've already created our first component here. If we look up in the menu, we have our design file, which is saved as construction block models, and I've got parentheses 6 there, so we're going to have 6 of them total. This waffle icon could get that menu out of our way. In our browser, we're good to go, and I'm active in the first model, or I'm sorry, first component that we created, which we just called Triangle 1. So I'm ready to start sketching here in Triangle 1. We're going to create a sketch, and we're going to extrude that sketch to make our first triangle shape. And in this video, we're going to make both triangular shapes in 2 different components. So let's go ahead and get started. Since I'm in the first component for Triangle 1, I'm going to go ahead and click this Create Sketch, and I need to choose a sketch plane. And I think for all of the models in this activity, we're going to be using this XY plane. I can look up in my view cube. You see that X is the red axis and Y is the green axis. That correlates here on screen. Here's the green Y axis, here's the red X axis, and this would be the XY plane that is going to be the one that we choose to sketch in. If your orientation looks different than this, if your colors are rearranged, let me know and I'd be happy to kind of adjust your settings, or maybe I can get a video out there showing you how to do that so that your orientation will look like mine every single time. Let's go ahead and select that plane to sketch in the XY plane. And I am ready to start drawing. And we're going to work on a triangular prism here. I'm going to be drawing a triangle, and I then will be extruding it. So I'm going to go ahead and use the line command for this. And again, remember that when we sketch, we need to fully constrain the object, which means we need to control both its size and its location in space. And one way to make our lives a little easier as it relates to the location in space is to start drawing on our origin. That will allow us to have fewer constraints or dimensions when we try to fully constrain this thing. So I'm going to left click on line command to activate that command. Again, to get out of that command, I just hit escape. If for some reason I needed to move on and do something else, I hit escape on my keyboard, but we want to go ahead and start drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and click the line command, the left click. I'll move my cursor down, and I'm going to left click and release on that origin. Now as I move my cursor around, notice that I'm ready to start drawing a line, and I can see by my dimensions there that I'm working in inches. I can show you how to set up your units in a different video to make sure you're drawing in inches here, but I'm going to work away from my origin. I'm kind of just moving my mouse up, and I'm going to click a location just kind of randomly up here because we're going to control its size later. I'm going to left click again, and I have established a line now moving from my origin up in the Y direction, some random distance. I'm going to go ahead and create this triangle's hypotenuse and kind of drag it down here, and I'm going to use these object snaps. Notice that my cursor, as I pull it down, it kind of yanks over to that x-axis, and that's called an object snap, and that is my friend. I'm going to go ahead and let it pull me down to that x-axis and click somewhere randomly down here. I'll left click and release again. So I've drawn 2 lines now. Notice that one line is black. That means it's constrained because I started at the origin. This line's blue, meaning I still need to control a little more, and I'll do that here in a second. Let's finish our triangle by moving our cursor over back to that origin. I'll left click one last time. And since I've completed a profile, meaning I don't have any openings, this is an enclosed space here, it goes ahead and it ends that line command and lets me start drawing another line, but I don't want to draw another line. I am good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and hit escape to get out of that command, and now I have my triangle. 2 lines are black, 1 line is blue, and now I'm ready to fully constrain this by adding on some dimensions. Now I've got a smaller screen here, so it's not up in my toolbar. I'm going to have to hit this drop down arrow. I'm going to move down here to Sketch Dimension. This is a constraint that we commonly use. I can also hit the letter D on my keyboard. I can just type the letter D and hit enter. It'll also let me move to this this tool, but I'm going to go ahead and just use our browser here. So again, I hit Create. I'm going over to Sketch Dimension. You may see this in your ribbon if you're working full screen on your own computers. Go ahead and add a couple dimensions here, and I need to control this triangle size. So I'm going to left click on this line, pull the dimension out, and then left click again. And it allows me to type that dimension size, which in this case is going to be 1.125 inches. I'm going to hit enter, and notice that it shrinks the size of our triangle to that appropriate length of side there, 1.125. I'm going to repeat that again. I'm going to hit escape just to get out of my dimension command and start from the beginning. You don't have to. You can stay in your command and continue dimensioning, but just for the sake of this video, I'm going to go ahead and escape and then re-access dimension. So I'm going to go to create, sketch dimension. I'm going to move over to the line that I want. I'm going to left click on the line that I want to control. I'm going to choose this line here because this is a right triangle. It's actually an equilateral triangle. This line is going to be the same as this line. So I'm going to left click here and release. I'm going to pull my dimension down. I'm going to left click to place it, and I'm going to type a value of 1.125 again and hit enter. Notice that my triangle is now fully black in color, which means that it is fully constrained. I am good to go. I have a profile that's fully enclosed, and I have a profile or an object, a shape here that is fully constrained with the dimensions that I added, as long as we started on this origin. Now, if I sketch this triangle somewhere out in outer space here, I would have to add some other dimensions to physically control where it's at, but starting on the origin is a great practice, and we are good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Finish Sketch, and I'm going to use my view cube to move into my isometric so I can kind of see what's going on here. I'm going to hit that Home button in isometric again here in this view cube. And now I'm looking at it in an isometric perspective. I've got the triangle we just drew, and now we need to actually create a object or a shape with this. I'm going to go ahead and use the extrusion command, this extrude button right here. It's underneath create in my ribbon. I'll go ahead and extrude it. I normally would have to select a profile, which is indicated right here in my dialog box. But right now I don't have to because I only have one profile to work with. It's the only thing we drew is this triangle, so it automatically chose that for me. I can see under profiles it says one selected. I'm good to go. I just need to give this a size, and I can physically drag this out and kind of make it something, but I can also just type here in the distance command. I can go ahead and give this a size, and so we need to go ahead and extrude this triangle a specific distance. Let me go ahead and pull that measurement. Looks like it's going to be 1.25 inches. So I'm going to type 1.25 in for my distance, and then hit enter or select OK. And this has created our first component here in this design file, is triangle number 1 using a sketch and extrusion technique. Now let's go ahead and try to tackle triangle number 2 here in this same drawing. And again, we're doing this in a top-down model, so it's really important, and hang with me here, it's really important that we go back up and activate in our browser, the top level of our design file, and then we need to create a new component. This is important for top-down modeling, that we have a different component for every object or shape that we're drawing, so that we can actually create some 3-view drawings and export some PDFs a lot easier down the road. So we're beginning with the end in mind with this. This is going to be called triangle 2. So I'm going to give component 2 a name, but triangle 2, and I'm going to go ahead and select OK. Notice that it's at the same level as triangle 1. I haven't nested triangle 2 underneath triangle 1 because I activated our design file up here by selecting this radio button. We've already done that, and so now I have 2 components ready to rock. Triangle 1 is what we drew, and now triangle 2 is active. I can tell by this radio button that's been selected automatically for me. That means I'm ready to start modeling triangle 2. We've got triangle 1 hanging out here in the background. Notice that it's a different shade, kind of out of our way. So let's go ahead and repeat the process for triangle 2. We're going to go ahead and create sketch. And I'm going to go ahead and select, again, the XY plane. And I can lightly see, I don't know if that's coming through on your screen, but I can see the triangle that we've previously done. Now it's going to be really nice using the sketch command rather than primitives to be able to line our objects up nicely to where they're related well to each other. As long as I keep using this x-axis, I can start putting all of my objects along this x-axis, and it'll create a nice little matrix for us. So I'm going to start, I started a sketch. I'm in the sketch now. I'm in the sketch ribbon, and I'm going to do the same procedure as last time. I'm going to use the line command. Instead of starting on the origin this time, I want to go ahead, I'm going to select line command. I'm going to start on this red axis somewhere down here. I'm going to use an object snap to start drawing my triangle. I'm going to left click and pull up. I'm going to select some random distance, but I am going to let that cursor lock to where I'm drawing vertically. You'll see that object snap there, that little 2 blue vertical lines with some dashes. That is showing that I'm locking this into a vertical constraint, which is good. I want that. I'm going to draw this as random distance up. This triangle is a little longer. It's not an equilateral or an equilateral triangle, So I'm going to give this hypotenuse a little more slope here. I'm going to pull this out a random distance, let it lock to the x-axis and left click. I've released, and so I'm now dragging my cursor over. I'm going to select back where I started from and left click again. Notice that it took me out of that series of lines. It recognized that I created a full profile. I'm still in my line command, so before I do anything else, I'm just going to hit escape to get out of my line command, and I've got a completed profile for triangle 2. I just need to give this thing some dimensions. So we're going to go back into that dimension constraint. Again, it may be here in your ribbon. Otherwise, you're going to have to hit this drop down arrow for create. I'm going to move down to sketch dimension. This surface here, after I started the dimension command, I'm going to left click on this line. I'm going to pull the dimension out, left click to place it. This is a dimension of just 1, clean 1 inch. And this bottom line here, I'm still in the dimension command, so I'm going to left click on this edge. I'm going to pull down to place my dimension. I'm going to left click to place it. And this is going to be a distance of 2.375. So 2.375 or 2 3/8 inches. Go ahead and hit enter there. And now I've got the size of my triangle fully constrained, but it's still blue. And that means that I have not fully constrained its location yet. So I'm going to go ahead and add another dimension here. I'm going to go for my origin. I'm going to left click there. And then I'm going to left click on this edge here. Pull my cursor down, left click to place my dimension. And this can be some random distance. It doesn't have to be specific. Perhaps you want to use some nice round numbers. We can make that 1.75 inches, for instance, make it a little more accurate. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Notice that it has locked this triangle in to where I've got a black line here. I've still got a couple blue lines, so I'm going to add one more dimension. I'm going to do a dimension from the origin. I'm going to do a dimension up here. Let's see if I can go to that line there. Let's see if this will help me out. I'll place a vertical dimension for that. Yep, that's going to do it. But if I left click and hit enter, I now have a fully constrained triangle for triangle 2. I had to place a couple location dimensions here to fully constrain this triangle. I'm good to go. I'm ready to model. So I'm going to go ahead and finish sketch. Move over to my isometric. Still have our first triangle hanging out here in the background. This is triangle 2 now. We're ready to create an extrusion, so I'm going to left click on extrusion. It automatically selects my profile because that's the only profile available that hasn't already been extruded. And we're going to extrude this triangle. I believe it is the same extrusion distance. It's actually 1 point. This triangle is 1.125, so it's a little smaller. Distance of 1.125. And we're going to hit OK. And now I've modeled our second triangle. I've got 2 triangles here using a top-down modeling technique. If I go and activate my design file, you'll see both triangles now in the same shade. Again, because I selected this radio button up here, and now I'm ready to create another component to where I don't have any components nested underneath each other. And in the next video, we will cover how to create the additional 4 construction blocks to make a total of 6. So we are set up to make 3 view drawings. Again, this video is creating 2 triangular prisms using a sketch and modeling technique and using a top-down modeling approach in Fusion.